Imagine being screamed at by your hero or watching them throw a fit because their room wasn't perfect. For many people, this was their reality when meeting their rock idols. These stars let the fame get to their heads. We're exposing the 20 rock stars who were the biggest jerks. One of them actually sued his own fans. 1. Axl Rose. When you think of 80s rock, you think of Axl Rose. As the lead singer of Guns N' Roses, he had a one-in-a-million voice and a rock star look that everyone wanted to copy. He was the front man for the most dangerous band in the world. But here's the kicker. That dangerous label wasn't just an act. Axl's temper was legendary, and it cost his fans and his band big time. He was known for being a total tyrant. He would show up to his own concerts 2, sometimes 3 hours late, just because he felt like it. Thousands of fans would be left waiting, not knowing if the show would even happen. What's easy to miss is that his anger wasn't just about being late. In 1991, at a concert in St. Louis, Axl saw a fan in the crowd taking pictures. He yelled at security to take the camera. When they didn't move fast enough, Axl himself leaped feet first into the audience to grab it. He was pulled out, grabbed his microphone, said, "Thanks to the lame-brained security, I'm going home," and slammed the mic on the stage. The band walked off. The crowd, who had waited hours, went nuts. They rioted, tearing up the brand-new venue. The damage was over $200,000. Axl was blamed for starting the whole thing. To put it mildly, he was not a fan favorite that night. Axl's public fits are famous. But what about a star whose bad behavior was more about what he said than what he did, especially his crazy boasts? 2. Gene Simmons. Next up is Gene Simmons, the long-tongued demon from the band Kiss. Kiss is one of the biggest bands ever, known for their incredible live shows, face paint, and massive amounts of merchandise. Gene Simmons is the co-leader and the band's businessman. But not all things are what they seem. Behind the makeup, Gene Simmons has a reputation for being one of the most arrogant and self-centered people in music. He is famous for his offensive comments, especially about women. He has made thousands of boasts about his private life in ways we can't even describe here. But his jerk behavior goes beyond just words. He has famously said that rock is finally gone, putting down all the new bands that are trying to make it. He seems to think that no music matters except his own. The worst part, though, might be how he treated his original bandmates. Ace Frehley, the band's first guitarist, had personal problems that caused him to leave the band. Instead of being a supportive friend, Gene publicly made fun of Ace for years. He insulted his talent and his struggles. Many believe Gene actively tried to stop Ace from having a successful solo career, all out of spite. Gene Simmons' comments were offensive, but our next star took offensive comments to a whole new level, often targeting entire groups of people. 3. Morrissey. Morrissey was the lead singer of the 80s band, The Smiths. For a whole generation of sensitive, thoughtful kids, his music was everything. He sang about feeling left out and being a gentle soul. What many didn't expect was that the man who sang about being kind would grow up to say some of the meanest things in music history. As the years went on, Morrissey started giving interviews that were just awful. He has made many statements that people call racist. He has complained about immigration in his home country of England, and he has supported controversial, far-right political figures. His fans, who had loved his gentle music, were left scratching their heads. What many found truly shocking was his defense of famous, powerful men who were accused of very bad behavior. He seemed to blame the people who came forward with their stories, not the powerful men who hurt them. It was a total shock to the fans who grew up believing he was on the side of the underdog. Morrissey's words caused a lot of pain, but our next star's actions caused a lot of anger, especially when he decided to go to war with his own fans. 4. Lars Ulrich. Every metal fan knows Lars Ulrich. He's the drummer and co-founder of Metallica, the biggest heavy metal band on the planet. He helped write songs that changed music forever. But here's the thing. In the year 2000, he became one of the most hated men in music. The reason was a new computer program called Napster. It was one of the first big websites that let people share music files for free. And fans were using it to download Metallica songs. Lars and Metallica were furious. They didn't just ask people to stop. They filed a massive lawsuit. But this wasn't just a lawsuit against the company. This is the wow factor. Metallica famously delivered a list of over 300,000 fan usernames to Napster, demanding that every single one of them be banned from the service. Lars went on TV and argued with fans. He came across as a rich, greedy rock star who was attacking the very people who bought his albums and concert tickets. He became the face of corporate greed, and many fans have never forgiven him for it. Lars Ulrich attacked his fans' wallets. But our next rock star has a history of questionable behavior that goes way beyond music. 5. Ted Nugent. Ted Nugent is the Motor City Madman. He's a guitar player known for his wild, high-energy shows and his song, Cat Scratch Fever. In recent years, he's become just as famous for his very strong political opinions. But here's the kicker. While Ted Nugent talks a lot about family values and law and order, his own past is extremely questionable. Almost nobody realized at the time, but back in the 1970s, his wild man image included some very troubling personal actions. Nugent has openly talked about having inappropriate relationships with girls who were underage. This wasn't a secret. He even talked about it in interviews. Here is the really shocking part. In 1978, he actually became the legal guardian for a 17-year-old girl named Pele. This was so he could take her on tour with him as his girlfriend. He was 30 years old at the time. To put it mildly, many people find his stories about his past to be extremely creepy and not at all in line with the values he talks about today. Ted Nugent's past is controversial, but our next star didn't just have a controversial past. He built his career on being a jerk, and it led to total chaos. 6. Fred Durst. If you were around in the late 90s, you could not escape Fred Durst. As the lead singer of Limp Bizkit, he was the king of nu metal, with his red baseball cap turned backward. But here's the thing, he wasn't just famous for his music. He was famous for starting fights with, well, pretty much everyone. He had public feuds with Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, Eminem, and the band Slipknot. He just seemed to love being the bad guy. His worst moment by far came at the Woodstock 1999 Music Festival. The festival was already a total disaster. It was over 100 degrees, a bottle of water cost $4, and people were getting very angry. The crowd was a powder keg waiting to explode. When Limp Bizkit took the stage, Fred Durst decided to light the match. During their hit song Break Stuff, he encouraged the crowd to do just that. He told them to break your face. The crowd went completely wild, ripping down wooden fences and sound towers. It was pure chaos, and many people blame Fred Durst for pouring gasoline on the fire. Fred Durst caused a riot. But our next two entries are a pair of brothers who saved their worst behavior for each other. First up, the singer. 7. Liam Gallagher. Liam Gallagher is the voice of the band Oasis. In the 90s, they were the biggest band in the world, a modern-day Beatles. Liam had the swagger, the parka, and the perfect rock and roll attitude. The thing nobody tells you is that his attitude often crossed the line into just being a nightmare. Liam is famous for his childish fits and terrible temper. He would get into huge fights with his brother, Noel, who wrote all the songs. These fights would happen right before they were supposed to go on stage, forcing them to cancel entire concerts. He's been banned from airlines for his bad behavior. He would throw things and scream at the staff. He was also known to be very mean to his family and partners. Here's a wow factor. His bad behavior is the main reason Oasis broke up. At a festival in 2009, he and Noel got into a massive fight backstage. Liam reportedly smashed one of Noel's favorite guitars. Noel walked out right then and said he was done. Liam's temper cost him the biggest band in the world. Liam was a handful, to put it mildly, but his brother, the band's songwriter, could be just as bad, if not worse, with his words. 8. Noel Gallagher. Noel Gallagher was the older brother and the brains behind Oasis. He wrote all the classic songs like Wonderwall. While Liam was the one throwing punches, Noel was the one throwing verbal darts that were just as nasty. Noel is famous for his incredibly mean interviews. He constantly put down his brother Liam, calling him names we can't repeat and insulting his intelligence. He made fun of almost every other band that was popular at the time, but his most shocking moment came in 1995. Oasis was in a big media war with another British band called Blur. It was a huge rivalry. In one interview, a reporter asked Noel what he thought about Blur. Noel's response was shocking. He said he wished the members of Blur would get a horrible sickness and pass away. It was a disgusting, horrible thing to say. The backlash was huge, and he had to write a long letter of apology. It showed just how cruel he could be when he felt like someone was his rival. The Gallagher brothers were awful to each other. But our next star was awful to his bandmate, who also happened to be his own cousin. 9. Mike Love. When you hear the Beach Boys, you think of surfing, cars, and beautiful summer days. Mike Love was the lead singer on many of their biggest hits, like Fun, Fun, Fun and California Girls. But here's the kicker. Behind the good vibrations, Mike Love was known as one of the biggest bullies in music history. And his main target was his own cousin, Brian Wilson. Brian Wilson was the band's creative genius. He wrote, arranged, and produced almost all of their amazing songs. But as Brian's music got more creative and artistic, Mike Love hated it. When Brian was working on the legendary Pet Sounds album, which is now considered one of the greatest albums ever, Mike was incredibly negative. He complained about the songs, saying they were too weird and that nobody wants to listen to this. What many overlooked is that he also tried to take credit for songs he didn't write. He later sued Brian Wilson for millions of dollars, claiming he had co-written dozens of songs. Many people believe that Mike's constant bullying and negativity helped push Brian, a very sensitive person, into a dark, sad period of his life. Mike Love bullied a genius. But our next star thinks he's the genius, and he treats everyone else like they're lucky to be near him. 10. Billy Corgan. Billy Corgan is the leader of the Smashing Pumpkins. He created a unique, powerful sound that defined 90s alternative rock. He wrote all the songs, sang them, and was the clear boss. What's easy to miss is that Corgan is famously difficult to work with. He is a total control freak. He's known for firing band members over tiny things. He's the only person to play on every single Smashing Pumpkins album because he keeps firing everyone else. Here's a wow factor. On their classic 1993 album, Siamese Dream, Billy Corgan reportedly recorded almost all of the guitar and bass parts himself. He did this in secret, telling his bandmates, guitarist James Iha and bassist Darcy Retzky, that their playing just wasn't good enough. Can you imagine being in a band and being told you aren't good enough to even play on the album? He is also known for his public crybaby attitude, complaining about fans, other bands, and the music industry. He's just not a very nice person to be around. Billy Corgan's ego is huge, but our next star's chaotic life was not just about ego. It was about a trail of destruction that followed her everywhere. 11. Courtney Love. Courtney Love is the lead singer of the band Hole and one of the most famous and controversial women in rock history. She is a true, old-school rock star, but she is also known for her extremely chaotic and unpredictable behavior. She has a very long history of public fights, bizarre interviews, and feuds with other stars. She has had public battles with everyone from fellow musicians to her own daughter, Frances Bean. She's been known to get violent at her shows. There are many stories of her throwing her microphone stand hard into the crowd, injuring fans who had paid to see her. She's also gotten into physical fights with fans and other musicians. Her whole life has been surrounded by tragedy, especially concerning her late husband, Kurt Cobain. She has faced a lot of criticism for her role in the hard-partying lifestyle of the 90s. People have said she encouraged bad behavior in those around her instead of trying to help them. To put it mildly, her entire life has been one big, messy controversy. Courtney's life is full of chaos, but our next star is someone most people think of as a peaceful icon. The reality, however, was much, much darker. 12. John Lennon. John Lennon. He was a member of the Beatles, the biggest band of all time. After the band broke up, he wrote beautiful songs like Imagine, and he and his wife Yoko Ono became global icons for peace and love. But here's the truth that many fans don't want to hear. The man who sang All You Need Is Love was, in his own words, a very cruel and violent man. Before he became a peace icon, Lennon had a serious dark side. He admitted in interviews later in his life that he was physically rough with women, including his first wife, Cynthia. He said he was a hitter and was deeply ashamed of it, but the saddest part is how he treated his first son, Julian. After John left Cynthia for Yoko Ono, he basically abandoned Julian. For many years, he barely saw his son. Julian Lennon has said in interviews that John's bandmate, Paul McCartney, was more of a father to him than John ever was. In fact, Paul wrote the classic song Hey Jude to comfort young Julian during his parents' messy divorce. It's a shocking, dark truth behind the peace and love image. John Lennon's secret cruelty is shocking. But our next star's cruelty wasn't secret at all. He was openly mean to his bandmates for decades. 13. David Crosby. David Crosby, with his famous mustache and beautiful voice, was a key member of two legendary bands, the Byrds and Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. His harmonies are some of the most beautiful in rock history. You see, Crosby was just as famous for his beautiful music as he was for his terrible personality. He was kicked out of his first band, the Byrds, for being too arrogant and difficult. So he went and formed a new band, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and he managed to make every single one of them hate him, too. His bandmates, Stephen Stills, Graham Nash, and Neil Young, have all said in public that he is one of the most difficult and mean-spirited people on earth. He would constantly insult them, their music, and even their wives and girlfriends. Graham Nash, who was Crosby's closest friend in the group, finally stopped speaking to him for good after Crosby made nasty public comments about Neil Young's new girlfriend. Crosby has even admitted that he's a jerk, but he just can't seem to stop. David Crosby pushed all his friends away. But our next star didn't just push his friends away, he pushed them out of the band's business. 14. Roger Waters. Roger Waters was the brilliant mind and main songwriter for the legendary band Pink Floyd. He wrote the lyrics for Dark Side of the Moon and came up with the entire concept for their most famous album, The Wall. But what many didn't expect was that this genius was also a master of control and a legendary bully. As Pink Floyd became the biggest band in the world, Waters took more and more control. He started to treat his bandmates, guitarist David Gilmour and keyboardist Rick Wright, like they were just his hired musicians. Here is the wow factor. During the making of The Wall, Waters actually fired Rick Wright, a founding member of the band. But here's the truly cruel part. He forced Wright to tour with them as a paid musician. This meant Wright didn't get to share in any of the massive profits from the tour, which made millions. After Waters quit the band, he later sued his own bandmates to try and stop them from ever using the name Pink Floyd again. He lost the lawsuit, but it showed how bitter and controlling he truly was. Roger Waters was a bully in the studio. Our next star was a bully behind the drum kit, and he wasn't afraid to get physical. 15. Ginger Baker. Ginger Baker, the wild, red-headed drummer for the 1960s supergroup Cream, is often called one of the greatest drummers of all time. He wasn't just a rock drummer, he was a musical pioneer. He was one of the first to use two bass drums, and he blended the power of rock with complex African rhythms he'd studied, creating a sound no one had ever heard. He was, by all accounts, a musical genius. He was also, by all accounts, one of the meanest and scariest men in rock and roll. Ginger Baker was famous for his incredibly short fuse. He seemed to be angry at the entire world all the time. He would fight with everyone. He and his bandmate, bassist Jack Bruce, had one of the most toxic relationships in music history. They would get into fistfights on stage, in the middle of songs. Their feud started before Cream, in another band, and it only got worse. Here's the kicker. Their fighting wasn't just shoving. Baker reportedly pulled a knife on Bruce during one argument. In another famous story, Baker got so fed up with Bruce playing too loud that he just stood up, grabbed his drumsticks, and attacked Bruce's bass guitar with them. But his anger wasn't just for his band. He would punch reporters, roadies, and other musicians. He was not just a jerk with a bad attitude. He was genuinely a violent and frightening person. There's a famous documentary about him called Beware of Mr. Baker. The title itself is a warning. In the very first scene of the movie, the director, Jay Bulger, who had spent months with Baker, asks him about a story from his past. Baker's response? He erupts in a fit of rage, yells at the director, and then violently hits him in the nose with his heavy metal cane, breaking it. He draws blood, and he's proud of it, cackling as the director recoils. He was angry, he was violent, and he was proud of it, right to the very end. Ginger Baker's violence is legendary, but our next star's bad behavior was more about greed and control, and it tore one of America's biggest bands apart. 16. Glenn Frey. The Eagles were the sound of 1970s California, with hits like Hotel California, Take It Easy, and Lion Eyes. They were one of the biggest and most successful bands in American history. Their image was all about mellow vibes, beautiful harmonies, and taking it easy. But behind the scenes, it was a different story. Glenn Frey was a co-founder, singer, and songwriter for the band. And as the Eagles became more and more successful, Frey's desire for control and money started to poison the group. He and the other co-founder, drummer Don Henley, basically ran the band like a dictatorship. They were known by other band members as the Teflon Dons. They insisted on taking a much bigger share of the money, even though the other band members, like guitarist Don Felder, were just as important to their sound. Here's a wow factor. Don Felder was the one who wrote the iconic, unforgettable guitar music for Hotel California. It's one of the most famous pieces of music ever. But when Felder started to question why Frey and Henley made so much more money than everyone else, they got angry. He felt he deserved to be paid fairly for his massive contribution. They saw it as him being ungrateful. The feud got so bad that it exploded during their last concert in 1980. It was a benefit show, and the band was breaking up. Felder was not happy, and Frey was even less happy. For the entire show, the two were threatening each other on stage, between songs, into their live microphones. Frey was heard saying, "Only 3 more songs, pal. followed by "I'm gonna kick your ass when we get off stage." It was the most unmellow performance imaginable. Frey broke up the band the next day. Don Felder was fired from the band shortly after they reunited in the 90s, and he had to sue his former bandmates just to get the royalties he was owed. Glenn Frey's greed broke up a band, but our next star was so controlling he would fire band members for the most ridiculous reasons you can imagine. 17. Ritchie Blackmore. Ritchie Blackmore is the mysterious man in black. He's the guitar wizard who founded not one, but two legendary bands, Deep Purple and Rainbow. And he created, without a doubt, the most famous guitar riff in history, the simple four-note da-da-da-da-da-da-da of Smoke on the Water. He also created a reputation for being an absolute tyrant to work with. Blackmore was cold, distant, and impossible to please. His persona wasn't an act. He really was that difficult. He went through dozens of band members over his career. Being in a band with Ritchie Blackmore was like walking on eggshells all the time. He was known to fire people for the most absurd, ridiculous reasons. Here's a wow factor that sounds like a joke, but isn't. He famously fired one singer from his band, Rainbow Graham Bonnet, because he didn't like his haircut. Bonnet had a 1950s-style greaser look, and Blackmore wanted everyone to have long, medieval-looking rock star hair. So he was fired. But that's not all. He fired another musician, a bass player, because he dared to wear checkered pants on stage. Blackmore only wanted his band to wear black, and this was an offense he could not forgive. He was so controlling that he would tell every single person in the band exactly what to play, how to play it, and even how to stand on stage. He wanted to be the only star. During his time in Deep Purple, he would often refuse to talk to his bandmates, especially singer Ian Gillan, whom he hated. He would make his roadie pass messages to them even if they were standing in the same room. It was his way, or you were gone. Ritchie Blackmore controlled his band's image. But our next star controlled his band through emotional games, leading to decades of drama. 18. Lindsey Buckingham. Fleetwood Mac was a band famous for two things: its incredible, timeless music and its soap opera-like relationships. At the center of it all was the brilliant guitarist Lindsey Buckingham and the magical singer Stevie Nicks. The thing nobody tells you is that their very bad, very real breakup, which happened right as they were recording their biggest album, Rumors, led to decades of drama. Rumors is basically an album of them writing angry songs about each other. Stevie wrote Dreams, and Lindsey wrote the nasty up-tempo Go Your Own Way. Lindsey was known to be a perfectionist in the studio, which is a nice way of saying he was a nightmare. He would drive his bandmates crazy, forcing them to do take after take after take. He reportedly made Christine McVie and the rest of the band play the same part for 10 hours straight until he was happy. But his worst behavior was saved for Stevie. For 40 years, they had to share a stage, singing love songs to each other that were really breakup songs. And Lindsey was known to be manipulative and emotionally mean. During the Rumors tour, Stevie said that when she was singing her heartfelt ballad, Rhiannon, she would look over and Lindsey would be making awful, mean faces at her, just to mess with her head and try to make her cry on stage. This drama continued all the way until 2018. After a lifetime of this behavior, Lindsey was fired from Fleetwood Mac. The final reason? He apparently smirked and was disrespectful to Stevie Nicks during a speech at an awards show. The band had finally had enough. After 40 years of drama, a single smirk was the final straw. Lindsey Buckingham's drama with his ex was bad, but our next star was part of a duo that enabled each other's bad behavior for 50 years. 19. Paul Stanley. We already talked about Gene Simmons of Kiss. The Demon is famous for his ego, his greed, and his controversial comments. But what about the other man in charge, Paul Stanley, the star child? He's the one who sings, "I Want to Rock and Roll All Night." He often seems like the nice one. He's the romantic singer, the charismatic frontman, the calm leader. But what many don't realize is that he was Gene's biggest enabler. For every mean thing Gene Simmons did, Paul Stanley was standing right next to him, counting the money. Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons are the two original members who have run KISS as a business from day one. And Paul was right there with Gene when they were treating their original bandmates, guitarist Ace Frehley and drummer Peter Criss, like hired help. Even though Ace and Peter were co-founders who created the Spaceman and Catman characters, Gene and Paul refused to give them an equal share of the band's massive profits. This is what led to them leaving the band in the first place. For decades, Paul let Gene be the bad guy in the press, making the offensive comments and acting arrogant. It was a perfect good cop, bad cop routine. Paul got to be the beloved star child, while Gene took the heat. But here's the thing, Paul was right there with him, making the same mean decisions behind the scenes. He wasn't the nice one, he was just the quiet one. He co-owned the business that licensed their image to new band members, a move many fans saw as disrespectful. He's just as arrogant as Gene, just better at hiding it behind a smile. Paul Stanley enabled his partner's bad behavior, but our final star was a true rock and roll outlaw, whose bad behavior was a core part of his public image. 20. Keith Richards. Keith Richards, the guitarist for the Rolling Stones. He is, in many ways, the living spirit of rock and roll. He's the human riff. He looks like a pirate, and he's lived a life that would have ended most people decades ago. Part of his legend was his outlaw status, and for a long time, that included being a real jerk. Before he cleaned up his act, Keith was famous for his heavy partying and serious substance issues. This lifestyle made him unpredictable, unreliable, and often just plain mean. He and singer Mick Jagger have had one of the longest and most famous feuds in rock history. This wasn't just friendly rivalry. In his 2010 autobiography, Life, Keith insulted Mick in very personal ways, even making fun of his manhood. It was a low blow that he later had to apologize for, but it shows the decades of bitterness. But his most famous jerk behavior was trashing hotel rooms. This became the classic rock star move, and he was the king of it. He and his bandmates would destroy rooms, causing thousands and thousands of dollars in damage just for fun. The most famous story took place at the Andaz Hotel in Hollywood, nicknamed the Riot House. Keith and the band's sax player, Bobby Keys, were on a balcony, bored. They decided to fill a bathtub with water, unplug a 200-pound television set, and then throw it off the 10th floor balcony, watching it crash into the hotel pool below. It was the ultimate rock star move, but to the hotel workers who had to clean it up and the other guests who were put in danger, it was just the act of a rich, spoiled brat. 1P. Diddy, aka Sean Combs. P. Diddy has been in the game for decades. Music mogul, fashion king, vodka boss, billionaire. But behind the money, fame, and that million-dollar smile, a long, messy trail of drama, lawsuits, and scandal that makes you wonder if the bad boy brand was more of a confession than a tagline. Let's start with the bombshell that shocked everyone, Cassie's lawsuit. After nearly a decade together, she came out with a lawsuit that sounded straight out of a Netflix documentary. She accused Diddy of controlling her life, isolating her, threatening her, and emotionally tormenting her behind closed doors. Sis said she couldn't leave without paying the price, literally and emotionally. Diddy denied it all, but the case was settled almost immediately. That quick settlement? Red flags anyone. But it doesn't stop there. Over the years, there have been whispers. loud ones about Diddy's toxic behavior at work. Former staffers and people in his inner circle have talked about a high-pressure, fear-driven environment where Diddy ruled like a king. You speak up, you're out. You breathe wrong, you're replaced. One former employee allegedly said working for Diddy gave them PTSD with diamonds. And don't forget the wild rumors of him using threats, intimidation, and even security teams to keep people quiet. Nothing ever stuck in court, but the streets and the blogs have been talking for years. So what do we have? A legend in the industry, no doubt, but also a man with a reputation that's way darker than his sunglasses at night. Making number 2 on the list is the man who went from being R&B legend to becoming the face of horror. 2. R. Kelly. You probably saw this one coming a mile away. R. Kelly, once hailed as the king of R&B, is now better known as the king of creeps. We're talking about a man who gave us classics like Ignition, Remix, and Step in the Name of Love, songs that used to light up weddings and cookouts. But now, most people hit skip the moment his voice comes on, and for good reason. What we didn't know back then was that behind those smooth vocals was the disturbing truth that R. Kelly didn't just act like a jerk, he was a full-blown predator. For decades, he used his fame, fortune, and charm to lure underage girls into his orbit. He groomed them, controlled them, silenced them with threats and cash, and created what many now call a full-blown sex cult. Yeah, you heard that right, a cult. The most damning part? People knew for years. There were whispers, lawsuits, even a leaked tape back in the early 2000s that showed him doing unspeakable things with a minor. But somehow he kept dodging consequences like he was made of Teflon. That is, until 2019. Thanks to the surviving R. Kelly docuseries, the truth exploded into the public eye. More women came forward. More stories surfaced. And this time, the system finally listened. In 2021, he was found guilty on 9 federal counts, including racketeering, sex trafficking, and abuse of minors. He's now serving 30 years in federal prison, and honestly, he's lucky that's all he got. From Grammy Awards to criminal courtrooms, R. Kelly's fall from grace was epic and long overdue. If there's one person who redefined the phrase "canceled," it's him. He didn't just mess up, he destroyed lives. And now he's exactly where he belongs, behind bars. And then number 3 takes us to the bad boy who just won't behave. 3. Chris Brown. Once the sweet-faced teen heartthrob dancing his way into our hearts with Run It, now better known as the walking definition of unresolved anger issues. If R&B had a problem child, Chris would be the poster boy, and let's just say, the boy's been busy. It all started with that night in 2009 when the infamous assault on Rihanna, his then-girlfriend, happened, and images of her bruised and battered face stunned the world. He didn't just lose endorsements and fans that year, he lost his image. What followed was a week apology tour, a little community service, and then, well, Breezy got back to business like nothing happened. And somehow, so did his fans. But that wasn't the end. Far from it. Since then, Chris has been involved in countless altercations, including violent outbursts, club brawls, smashing windows at Good Morning America, and messy public fights with other celebs like Drake and Frank Ocean. And don't even get us started on his Twitter rants, where he's cursed out everyone from fans to journalists like he's auditioning for WWE. Let's not forget the alleged sexual assault case in Paris in 2019, which was eventually dropped, multiple restraining orders, and run-ins with the law over everything from probation violations to drug possession. Oh, and he also painted creepy murals on his home, terrifying his neighbors. Because of course he did. And yet, he still sells out arenas. The music still charts, women still throw themselves at him like he's Romeo in a leather jacket. It's baffling. Chris Brown may have talent for days, but let's be honest, he also has a temper that's done serious damage. He's the kind of guy who can sing "Take You Down" and actually mean it in the worst way. Number 4 is the woman we all refer to as the Queen of Rap, but no one told us she's also got some Royal Rumble skills up her sleeves. 4. Nicki Minaj. Let's get this straight. Nicki isn't just a rapper. She's a one-woman thunderstorm wrapped in pink wigs and designer heels. Her lyrical skills? Undeniable. But her beef portfolio? Whew! Longer than her discography. We're talking full-on brawls with Cardi B, where shoes were thrown like dodgeballs at a royal gala. Yep, actual shoes. And who remembers the Mariah Carey American Idol Warzone? That wasn't a singing competition, it was two divas in stilettos trading shade like Pokemon cards. Nicki's also coming for Miley Cyrus. Miley What's Good, the iconic, clashed with BET, Travis Scott, Lil' Kim, and even her own fan pages. Sis is not afraid to hit unfollow like a mob boss revoking access. Her Twitter fingers? Legendary. One minute she's hyping up her barbs, the next she's unleashing fury over charts, critics, or anyone who dares breathe sideways. Loyalty to Nicki isn't just expected, it's a blood oath. If you're in, you're protected. If you cross her, pack your things, sweetie. And let's not forget the awkward headlines around her husband's criminal past, or that lawsuit involving her brother. While she keeps dodging direct accountability, Nicki often paints herself as the misunderstood genius in a world full of haters. But here's the twist, she still runs the game. Despite the chaos, the tantrums, and the scorched bridges, Nicki continues to dominate charts, trends, and timelines. Petty, Oh, absolutely, but powerful, you better believe it. She's not just the queen of rap, she's the queen of clapbacks, and her crown is superglued on. And just when you think it can't get messier, wait till you hear what the other celebrities on our list brought to the table. One has a temper, another has a courtroom habit, and the other, well, you'll see. 5. Rihanna. Rihanna is a global icon, chart-dominating artist, beauty mogul, fashion trendsetter. But behind that razor-sharp success is an aloof diva persona that sparked controversies. Remember the Savage X Fenty show where a topless model posed in front of a Hindu temple with Ganesh-themed accessories? That move ignited serious backlash, accusations of cultural insensitivity and tone deafness. And rumors trace even farther back. In 2013, she was reportedly escorted out of a mosque for inappropriate behavior. While she issued apologies, many fans felt they were perfunctory at best. Inside the industry, whispers tell of last-minute rescheduling, dismissive treatment toward lesser-known creatives, and a laser-focused, no-nonsense approach that others call cold or detached. She's a force, but some say fame may have cost her empathy. 6. Miguel. Miguel's voice might sound like raw honey, but behind that dreamy falsetto is a man whose offstage behavior has left more than a few people side-eyeing. Sure, he's got the moves, the looks, and the voice that melts hearts, but apparently the vibe shifts real quick when the cameras stop rolling. Let's start with the dive heard round the world. At the 2013 Billboard Music Awards, where Miguel, who was feeling himself a little too hard, had attempted a stage leap that turned into a WWE takedown. Two fans caught the full force of his legs, and while he brushed it off as just excitement, many felt the apology lacked true accountability. One woman even considered legal action. Yikes. And that's not where it ends. Reporters have noted how Miguel sometimes mocks fans for being too trendy or obsessed with hype culture, painting himself as the deeper thinker above the noise. Cool aesthetic, maybe. but not the best way to stay connected with the people who made you famous. Then there are the studio sessions. One insider described working with Miguel as a game of emotional ping pong. 1 minute, he's laser-focused and brilliant. The next, cold, snappy, and gone. There have been stories of last-minute cancellations, studio tension, and collaborators walking away emotionally drained. Even interviews show a certain distance. Charming? Yes. Present? Not always. That silky smooth stage presence doesn't always translate into genuine connection. Some fans say meeting Miguel felt like approaching a wall wrapped in silk, gorgeous but unreachable. He's got the talent, no doubt. But the whispers behind the scenes paint a picture of a man whose emotional aloofness leaves others feeling burned. Is he misunderstood or just moody with a mic? Either way, we're watching and still listening. 7. Tinashe. Tinashe is the full package. She sings, she dances, she performs like she was born on stage. But somehow, collaboration doesn't seem to be her strong suit. Behind the sleek visuals and killer moves lies a trail of shade, subtle jabs, and industry friction that keeps people wondering, is she misunderstood or just messy? First, let's talk about interviews. Tinashe has never shied away from calling out her record labels, claiming they didn't support her vision, shoved her into pop boxes, or treated her like an industry experiment. Fair? Maybe. But then came the name-dropping. She didn't just critique the system, she called out specific collaborators too, implying some were creatively useless or even toxic. Not exactly team player energy. And don't forget the colorism conversation that exploded. Tinashe openly stated that being mixed race made her feel not black enough and criticized the way the industry favors light-skinned artists. Important conversation? Yes. But here's the twist. Critics were quick to point out that she simultaneously cashed in on the same system she was condemning. Brand deals, beauty campaigns, fashion spotlights, everything she claimed to hate, she rocked it. Hypocrite or hustler? You decide. Then there's the behind-the-scenes buzz. Some dancers and creatives who've worked with her say she comes off cold, controlling, and dismissive. One even joked that rehearsing with Tinashe felt like auditioning for her approval at every turn, and the fans split right down the middle. Some ride hard for her independent spirit, while others say her constant blame game screams, "Mean girl in denial." Tinashe's got the goods, but when every fallout starts to look like someone else's fault, maybe it's time to check the mirror. Either way, the girl's got us talking, and that's a power move in itself. 8. Trey Songz. Trey Songz offers sultry tunes and smooth moves, but his offstage narrative is marred by chaos. In Detroit, he reportedly threw objects, struck a photographer with a mic stand, and punched a police officer after his show was cut short. Scenes that earned him probation. That incident wasn't a hiccup. It was a pattern. A string of lawsuits followed, including multiple sexual assault and allegations spanning years. Victims claimed he coerced them in vulnerable moments, and powerful settlements and ongoing court battles confirmed the weight of the claims. Public allegations of domestic violence surfaced too. An ex claimed he attacked her and threw her phone off a cliff during a fight. Even masked defiance at a Kansas City game ended with misdemeanor charges. Fans still love his music, but talk circles around entitlement and unchecked behavior. Beneath that velvet voice, critics say, is a pattern of repeated harm and avoidance of accountability. If this lineup feels heavy, hold tight. Next, we're going to be digging from personal traumas to public feuds. Stay tuned, because it's about to get even more jaw-dropping. 9. August Alsina. August Alsina re-emerged in the public eye not just with music, but with deeply personal headlines. behind velvet vocals lie stories steeped in tragedy and resilience. He lost his brother to cancer, survived serious spinal issues, and weathered an emotional breakdown. Then came the Jada Pinkett Smith entanglement. When Jada publicly confirmed their relationship in her Red Table Talk, Alsina's world changed overnight. He shared intimate texts, confessed he believed he could be the one for her, even though she remained married to Will Smith. Fans quickly dubbed him a hero of honesty or a reckless attention seeker. He's been accused of erratic behavior, walking off stages mid-song, going silent mid-interview, and drifting out from behind forced smiles during TV appearances. His allegiances to family, faith, and raw expression resonate with many, but his unpredictability, like rescheduling shows hours before doors open, has earned him a reputation among promoters as high risk. Some peers laud his authenticity, others call him unstable, even sabotaging. Behind the headlines of heartbreak and truth, there's an artist whose trauma is real, but whose boundary-pushing choices have made him both relatable and unpredictable. 10. The Dream. The Dream, known offstage as Terius Nash, brought us erotic anthems and superstar songwriting. But his talent also masks personal controversy. Rumors swirled that while writing hits like Umbrella and Bootylicious, he played romantic angles behind closed doors, most notably with Christina Milian, who alleged emotional manipulation and infidelity during pregnancy. Insider accounts speak of tense studio sessions, endless rewrites, unyielding perfectionism, and an aura of impatience that wore creative collaborators thin. Yet his genius is undeniable. He claims his intensity fuels masterpieces, but others say the line between high standards and cruelty is thin. A former backup singer reportedly said, "Working with him felt like pleasing a king, one misstep, and you feel erased." Meanwhile, a songwriter friend confessed she'd walked off a session in tears from feeling belittled. This dichotomy, brilliantly creative yet emotionally draining, anchors The Dream's reputation as both visionary and tyrant. The music industry respects his instinct, but whispers persist. Does greatness excuse descent into fear? 11. Tyrese Gibson. Tyrese Gibson went from baby boy to blockbuster king, and somewhere along the way, his life started looking more like a messy courtroom drama than a movie script. The man can sing, act, and charm a crowd. But his off-screen antics? Phew. Let's start with the receipts. Tyrese was held in contempt of court for skipping out on over $70,000 in child support, and when he didn't pay up, the judge issued an not exactly model father material, but it goes deeper. His ex-wife dropped accusations, claims of physical abuse toward their daughter, saying he struck her multiple times. Tyrese has strongly denied these allegations, but the court battles and emotional fallout left a public scar. Then came the banner stunt. Under a restraining order, Tyrese sent a plane to fly over school with a banner that read, "Daddy loves you." Heartwarming or manipulative? Depends who you ask, but for many, it's like love and more like legal line crossing. And when Tyrese isn't in court, he's clapping back on Instagram. From throwing shade at The Rock to unloading about racism, exes, and being the misunderstood good guy, he's made his page a digital diary of emotional spirals and martyrdom. Some applaud his vulnerability. Others call it emotional blackmail in real time. In 2023, he sued a major retailer over alleged racial profiling, but critics weren't convinced, labeling him dramatic, entitled, and hungry for headlines. One thing's for sure, Tyrese has range. But these days, it's not just his vocals doing the heavy lifting. It's the drama, the lawsuits, the oversharing. Icon or instability in motion. You decide. Either way, you're still watching. 12. Lauryn Hill. Lauryn Hill isn't just an artist, she's a movement, a once-in-a-lifetime voice that shook the world with the miseducation of Lauryn Hill. But behind the legacy lies a trail of late arrivals, no-shows, and unpredictable energy that has left even her most loyal fans questioning, where did Lauryn go? In 2014, fans packed into a venue, jumping with excitement. Minutes before showtime, cancellation. No message, no explanation, just empty air and emotional silence. That wasn't an isolated event. It soon became a pattern where she'd appear hours late, if at all. And when she did show up, the music was rearranged beyond recognition, her speeches cryptic, drenched in talk of spiritual warfare and energy shifts. People paid for nostalgia but got sermons and confusion. Her team hasn't stayed silent either. Former bandmates claim she skipped rehearsals, ignored sound checks, and treated staff unfairly. One crew member even said, "You don't critique Lauryn, she critiques the universe." A genius, yes, but a difficult one. Lauryn has opened up about her mental health struggles, from depression to spiritual burnout. And while many fans deeply empathize, others say the compassion runs thin when tickets are expensive and shows never happen. There's a fine line between creative chaos and professional collapse. Still, her fans hold on. They talk in forums about being hurt but hopeful, disappointed but still in awe. Because Lauryn isn't just an artist, she's a symbol, a beacon for raw truth, black excellence, and creative rebellion. But symbols can shatter under the weight of human flaws. Brilliant? Absolutely. But reliable? Not so much. When you buy a Lauryn Hill ticket, you're not just attending a concert, you're gambling on a mystic experience, or ghosting in real time. We've still got heavyweights to come, and even Queen Bey isn't escaping this list. Want to know how your favorite stars really behave behind the scenes? Then listen up, because the mask is about to slip for real. 13. Chris Brown. Chris Brown is the definition of chaotic brilliance. With vocals smoother than silk and dance moves that rival MJ, he could have gone down in history as the undisputed prince of R&B. But talent alone doesn't erase a rap sheet or a reputation. Since the 2009 assault on Rihanna, the world has watched his public image unravel in real time. There have been arrests for everything from assault to weapon charges, restraining orders, club fights, Twitter feuds, and screaming matches aired live on Instagram. His interviews often start calm and end with something thrown or stormed out. One moment he's dropping back-to-back hits. The next, he's beefing with fellow artists, fans, or his own shadow. In 2016, police swarmed his LA home after a standoff triggered by accusations he pulled a gun on a woman. Charges were later dropped, but the message was loud. Chris can't stay out of headlines. Behind the scenes, producers speak of his unpredictable nature, genius-level creativity that can flip into emotional chaos without warning. Some say working with him feels like walking on eggshells. Others call it electrifying but exhausting. Even his most devoted fans, Team Breezy, admit it's hard to defend his actions, even while streaming his albums non-stop. Yet the industry keeps calling. Why? Because when he's focused, Chris delivers. His artistry is undeniable. His live shows, spectacles, his chart stats, unmatched in his generation. But his inner demons are just as loud as his vocals. Is he misunderstood? Or is he just never held accountable long enough to grow? Chris Brown lives in duality, icon and cautionary tale, loved for his gift, feared for his unpredictability. Every comeback feels like deja vu, and for better or worse, he's not going anywhere. 14. Ne-Yo. Ne-Yo rose to fame on charisma and heart-touching hymns, becoming the face of modern romance. But real life wasn't so charming. He fathered children outside his marriage while allegedly pressuring his wife to be sterilized, an act that shocked fans and invited accusations of emotional manipulation. His ex-wife's public revelations painted him as self-serving and evasive. In interviews, Ne-Yo brushed it off as industry stress, but critics say that undermined women's emotional health. Then came comments on gender identity that sparked backlash. Fans felt he spoke without understanding, and his subsequent apology felt lukewarm. Meanwhile, sources say he's been controlling in studio sessions, redirecting ideas harshly, and walking out on collaborators who challenged him creatively. He still sells out tours and headlines festivals, but behind the performer is a man whose romantic narrative has fractured and whose sense of entitlement has sometimes crept into his art. Listeners love his melodies, but these cracks in his armor leave fans asking whether humility can be learned or lost. 14. Erykah Badu. Erykah Badu isn't just a singer, she's a whole frequency. The high priestess of neo-soul has a voice that feels like incense smoke on a summer night, soft, rich, and mysterious. Her music has shaped a generation, and her aura, unmatched. But while fans love her for her spiritual depth and cosmic energy, that same vibe sometimes gets her in trouble. Badu's interviews and tweets often leave people scratching their heads. One minute she's dropping gems on self-love and healing, the next she's defending controversial figures with a calm, "I see the good in everybody" tone. It's not always what she says, but how deeply she believes it, even when it ruffles feathers. When people call her out, she shrugs it off. "You just don't get my frequency." Even within the music scene, not everyone knows how to navigate her energy. Some collaborators praise her as brilliant and transformative. Others, not so much. One fellow artist once said, "Working with Badu is like entering a different universe, and not everyone comes out the same." Translation? She's intense, maybe too intense. On stage, she commands attention with her hypnotic performances and poetic flow. Off stage, she's known for her mystical fashion, incense rituals, and unexpected hot takes. Her fans adore her woo-woo energy, but critics say she's lost in her own world, disconnected from the real one. Is she misunderstood, or is she just comfortable being a walking paradox? Whether you vibe with her or not, one thing's certain: Erykah Badu moves to her own beat, and she's not slowing down for anyone. You either catch the wave or you don't. 16. Beyoncé. Beyoncé, the Queen. A force of nature, from Destiny's Child to the global throne of pop royalty, she's the very image of excellence. Her performances are electric, her visuals are iconic, and her work ethic, unmatched. But behind the spotlight lies a side of Beyoncé that doesn't always glitter. Rumors swirl within the industry about her need to control every single detail, from lighting angles to backup dancers' nail polish colors. Former collaborators whisper that the creative process with her can feel more like obedience school than teamwork. Every second of footage, every lyric, every look seems obsessively curated to protect the brand. It's genius, yes, but also isolating. There was that newsworthy moment when she reportedly pulled out of a major festival appearance just hours before showtime over a minor production issue. The organizers were stunned, scrambling to fix the aftermath. And then there are whispers of artists who were quietly cut from collaborations or edited out of visuals if they didn't match the vision. Some chalk it up to high standards, others call it artistic tyranny. Her fans see a flawless queen, disciplined, focused, unstoppable. But critics ask, at what cost? Does this level of perfection come from passion, or is it driven by fear? Fear of failure, fear of losing control, fear of cracking the image we've all come to worship. Because let's face it, when every move is calculated, rehearsed, and choreographed to feed the Beyoncé myth, it becomes hard to tell where the woman ends and the brand begins. Is she just being excellent in a world that punishes black women for anything less? Or has the pressure to always be perfect turned her into her own prisoner? One thing is clear in Beyoncé's kingdom: perfection isn't optional. It's the law. Think these stories were explosive? Just wait till we jump into this next phase where ego, lawsuits, and raw emotion paint the full picture. Trust me, you don't want to miss the climax. 17. Keyshia Cole. Keyshia Cole didn't just enter the music scene. She tore through it with a voice that carried pain, grit, and the kind of truth people usually hide. Her debut felt like therapy on wax: heartbreak, betrayal, resilience. Listeners connected instantly because she wasn't trying to be polished or perfect. She was raw. She was honest. She was human. But with that emotional transparency came a pattern that's hard to ignore. Keyshia has become almost as known for her conflicts as for her catalog. Public feuds with fellow artists like Michelle Williams and Beyoncé turned Twitter into a battlefield. And then there's the tension with her own family, often broadcasted in real time on her BET reality show. Viewers witnessed blowouts, confrontations, and heartbreaking silences. What was meant to offer a glimpse into her world exposed years of unresolved trauma and deep-seated trust issues. Colleagues and industry insiders have described her as passionate to the point of volatility. She brings her whole self to the room, voice, spirit, wounds and all. But sometimes the lines blur between protecting her peace and pushing people away. There's a guardedness in her that stems from growing up with instability and pain, and it shows. Not in fake smiles, but in how quickly she fires back when hurt or misunderstood. Yet there's no denying her authenticity. She's not pretending to be flawless. She's not hiding the scars. But that same unfiltered presence has made her both magnetic and hard to manage. You can feel her heartbreak in her vocals, and sometimes you feel her heartbreak in her behavior too. Keyshia Cole remains a symbol of truth for many women who were never taught to mask their pain. But the question remains, can unfiltered emotion build longevity, or will it keep breaking the bridges it helps her sing about? 18. Omarion. Omarion has carefully carved out a reputation as the king of inner peace. From meditative Instagram posts to calm interviews where he emphasizes growth, energy, and emotional intelligence, he wears his unbothered title like a badge of honor. But when you peel back that smooth exterior, a different picture begins to emerge, one that reveals tension, estrangement, and a trail of strained relationships. His departure from B2K wasn't the clean-cut career move it appeared to be. Former bandmates claimed he distanced himself not for growth, but for gain, opting to chase solo fame while quietly cutting them off. What fans saw as maturity, those closest to him saw as a calculated move to rebrand. The group's reunion tour resurfaced buried issues, and by the end of it, their dynamic had shifted from brotherhood to business, and not the friendly kind. Then came the unexpected twist. Lil Fizz, Omarion's former bandmate, publicly dated Omarion's ex and the mother of his children. The internet erupted, waiting for a fiery response, but Omarion stayed cool, too cool. While fans praised his composure, some insiders whispered that the silence wasn't strength, it was strategy. A way to maintain control of his image while privately shutting down those who crossed him. People who've worked with him describe him as distant, even dismissive. He's been known to cut off longtime collaborators without so much as a phone call. Emotional conversations? Rare. Transparency? Minimal. The peace and light brand he's built is real, but possibly only skin deep. Omarion is the definition of composed, but in his world, composure might just mean never letting anyone close enough to rattle you. His story is a reminder that sometimes the calmest waters hide the most unpredictable undercurrents. Is it true self-mastery or just well-disguised emotional armor? 19. Raz B. Raz B isn't just a chapter in the B2K story, he's the warning label the music industry keeps trying to tear off and ignore. Among the glitz and teen idol hysteria of B2K's rise, Raz stood out for reasons he never asked for. His outspokenness, especially around the alleged abuse he faced, made him a target not just of internet mockery, but of institutional gaslighting. Branded unstable and problematic, his name became synonymous with chaos, instead of the courage it takes to speak hard truths when no one wants to hear them. Over the years, Raz B's mental health struggles played out on public stages. Tour cancellations, sudden disappearances, emotional videos that quickly went viral. But beneath every outburst or breakdown was a man burdened with trauma that had no safe outlet. He wasn't just fighting inner demons, he was fighting an industry that would rather label him a liability than face its own complicity. What many write off as erratic behavior is actually survival mode. And while the world watched and whispered, few extended the grace his story truly deserves. To this day, Raz carries the weight of being the one who told the truth too early before society was ready to believe him. Yet he hasn't backed down. Despite the backlash, the stigma, and the silence, he continues to push forward fragmented but not finished. 20. Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey, the diva of divas. Vocally unmatched, culturally iconic. And yet often described by former employees and collaborators as a perfectionist with a controlling streak. From outrageous tour demands to behind-the-scenes walk-offs, Mariah's reputation as hard to work with isn't just media fluff. Former assistants have spoken about the emotional roller coaster of working for her. Lavish one moment, emotionally dismissive the next. She's canceled appearances last minute, fired team members over creative differences, and in interviews, sometimes lets her ego do the talking. But make no mistake, her behavior isn't just about entitlement. It's often been a shield, a way of maintaining power in an industry that once tried to control her every move. From her marriage to Tommy Mottola to her public mental health struggles, Mariah has learned to survive by setting her own rules, even if they come at a relational cost. To uncover more intriguing stories among Hollywood celebrities, don't forget to subscribe.